Hi everyone. Today I'm going to read CNN News. Today is September 4th, 2020. As Hong Kong's academic year begins, it's unclear what can legally be said in a classroom and whether students' activism is a thing of the past. By James Griffiths. Hong Kong CNN. In the heart of the leafy mountaintop campus of the Chinese University of Hong Kong stands a replica of a giant statue erected by protesting students in Beijing's Tiananmen Square in 1989, before a bloody crackdown by Chinese troops. A monument to freedom, the goddess of democracy, has long been a symbol of Hong Kong's pro-democracy movement and a testament to the freedoms the semi-autonomous city has enjoyed compared to the rest of China. During anti-government, pro-democracy protests last year, when CUHK itself became a key battleground between demonstrators and police, the statue was topped with a yellow helmet similar to those worn by protesters and bedecked with a placard reading "Hong Kongers Resist." CUHK's Goddess of Democracy, the morning after fierce clashes on campus, is now surrounded by protest supplies, ink, empty glass bottles, and cooking oil. The signs on her neck read, "5 demands, not one less," and "Hong Kongers Resist." It was largely students, both university and high school, who led those protests, clashing with police in increasingly violent confrontations, occupying campuses and getting arrested in large numbers. They had been expected to protest again this year, but with coronavirus halting the opportunity for public assembly, Beijing imposed a new national security law on the city in June, before the unrest could resume. The law, which bypassed Hong Kong's semi-democratic legislature, bans subversion, secession, and collusion with foreign forces, with severe prison terms for anyone found in contravention. From when the legislation was first mooted, the government has always insisted it will only target a handful of individuals and not have a widespread impact on Hong Kong's political freedoms. However, since it came into force on June 30th, some 24 arrests have been made, including 4 student activists over social media posts. It has been used to bar multiple candidates from standing for election. Political parties have disbanded, and once ubiquitous protest signs were pulled down across the city. Books deemed to be in contravention of the law have also been removed from stores and libraries. Hong Kong has some of the best universities in Asia, but in a growing climate of fear and self-censorship, it is now unclear what can legally be said and taught in a classroom, and whether student activism, both on campus and off, may become a thing of the past. Academic freedom. As university lecturers in the social sciences across Hong Kong prepared for the fall term, writing session plans, sending out book lists, and testing Zoom setups, they also engage in a furtive attempt to understand if their teaching might be deemed illegal. Since it was proposed by Beijing, observers have warned that the vague language and sweeping nature of the security law gives the authorities broad scope to crack down on a variety of behaviors, while offering little guidance to those affected on how to stay the right side of it. Schools have already been ordered by the government to remove books that contain content which is outdated or involves the 4 crimes under the law, and works by several prominent pro-democracy activists, including former student activist Joshua Wong, have been removed from public libraries. One lecturer at CUHK described how faculty members pressed university administrators in emails, encrypted messages, and hastily convened staff meetings for reassurances or guidance with little success. The general consensus is we know too little, and the wording of the legislation is too vague for us to prepare for it, said the lecturer, who spoke anonymously as they had not received permission from the school to do so. So it is essentially up to individuals to decide whether they want to be brave and ignore the whole thing, or self-censor. This creates a nerve-wracking situation for staff who are unsure not only what might get them in trouble, but also whether the university will stand by them in future. In June, Hong Kong University HKU fired Benny Tai, a respected law professor who was instrumental in organizing what became the 2014 Umbrella Movement pro-democracy protests. Tai's sacking was a clear breach of procedure, since a committee overwhelmingly made up of political appointees reversed a recommendation made by an academic body, the University Senate, not to terminate Tai's appointment, said Sebastian Veg, a China specialist at the School of Advanced Studies in Social Sciences in Paris, who was previously based in Hong Kong for several years. There is a new red line for academics who are also active in local politics or social movements, he added, but it's too early to say whether that red line will further expand into teaching and research itself. The Beijing-appointed Chief Executive of Hong Kong, Carrie Lam, oversees all public universities in the city, and most institutions have strong links with China, relying on the mainland for students and funding. CUHK, for example, operates the Shenzhen Research Institute across the border in China, and Chinese students make up the largest non-local cohort in the school's 20,000-strong student body. CUHK did not respond to a request for comment about the law or any action taken because of it. The government has denied that the law threatens the academic freedom. In 2017, mainland Chinese students clashed with some local students over a series of pro-Hong Kong independence posters erected on the CUHK campus, which were eventually removed by the school. Following the incident, the heads of 10 universities in Hong Kong published a joint statement condemning abuses of free speech and calling Hong Kong independence unconstitutional. Independent thought. Long before it was officially criminalized by the new security law, independence advocacy has been a contentious issue on campuses. In 2015, then Hong Kong Chief Executive C.Y. Leung used his annual address to attack a student magazine, Undergrad, for writing about independence, bringing the topic, then still fairly marginal, to wider public attention. The CUHK lecturer said there was concern about the effect of the security law on the school's journalism department. Many students, reporters covered the protests last year. How to even report on separatism or other newly illegal activities in the wake of the new law is something that far more experienced journalists are still trying to work out. It is unclear, for example, where the line is between reporting on the independence movement and promoting it, either by giving activists airtime or even by simply quoting separatist slogans. Discussing such subjects in lessons could also be risky. In a statement on books that could potentially contravene the security law, The Education Bureau said that teaching materials discussing the new crimes should not be used unless they are being used to positively teach pupils about their national security awareness or sense of safeguarding national security. Keith Richburg, director of Hong Kong University's Journalism and Media Studies Center, JMSC, said in a note to students last month that the specifics of the new law are vague, and that vagueness is deliberate. By not spelling out precisely what actions or words count as secession or subversion, by not clearly delineating Beijing's red lines, it gives the authorities the power and leeway to apply the law as they see it, while forcing everyone into a defensive mode of timidity and self-censorship to avoid possible transgressions. That includes journalists, academics, and other in the public space, Richburg wrote, adding that we do not intend to do anything differently as JMSC, as we adhere to our mission of training the next generation of reporters and imbuing them with journalism's international best practices.